Are you an overthinker? Do you tend to look into things way more than you really feel like you need to? And you feel like you overanalyze things to a certain point that's just a little bit much. And you just think to yourself, why the hell am I thinking about this so much? And that over analysis leads to paralysis. I don't know if you've ever heard that term before, that statement, but over analysis leads to paralysis. And I'm here to dispel that a little bit because for so long I've been an overthinker. And I still think I am, actually. I tend to really zoom in on things and think about them to a degree that not many other people look at certain situations. And I used to think it was a bad thing. But what I'm realizing more and more, it's not necessarily a bad thing if you can control it.
Matrix Productions.
Unlocking levels, unlocking levels, unlocking levels. Hosted by Sea of the Source. Tap in. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Unlocking Levels. It's your boy CL the Source. Thank you once again for tuning in. Back at it, yo. And this episode, I think, is going to be a very important one, as they all are. But this specific topic is something I realized not too long ago, and I kind of marinated on it for a little bit and just decided to kind of roll with it. It's something that I feel is necessary for me to pick apart a little bit because I have identified with this type of personality trait for so long. And the reality is I still am very much identify with this personality trait. And that personality trait is overthinking. For so long, I would think that overthinking was like a bad thing, and I would kind of get mad at myself for overthinking things. People would say, man, you're thinking too much about it. And, I'd ruin opportunities, I'd miss chances, whatever the case may be. And I'm here, as I mentioned, to dispel that a little bit because I don't think overthinking is really a bad thing. I think overthinking is a bad thing if you cannot control it. I think overthinking can be a bad thing if you cannot discern what's true and what's false, what's right and what's wrong. So if you're overthinking and you're just to the point where you're overwhelming yourself, yeah, it can be a bad thing. But if you realize you're overthinking and you're trying to cover every aspect of whatever it is you got going on, and you're trying to cover every corner, cross all your T's, dot all your I's, whatever the case may be, and you feel like you are overwhelming yourself, of course that's a bad thing. But if you're doing that to a point where you're able to then look at the situation that's in front of you, and you can kind of look at things from point of views that other people don't necessarily see, and you're able to again discern what's right and what's wrong, then I think it can be your superpower. Now, that may be a stretch for a lot of people, especially for people that have overthought things and are just tired of seeing opportunities slip through their hands, like I was for so long. And for me, I used to overthink things to a point where I blew it. I blew it plenty of times, and you end up having regret. You end up looking back at situations like, damn, I should have just did this. I should have just said this. I shouldn't have just overthought, and I should have just went for it, right? A lot of people are on the fence of, yeah, you should just go with the flow, do things of that nature. And to a certain degree, to a big certain degree, I actually believe in that. I do believe that you should go with the flow and you should just kind of not really necessarily overthink things. But if overthinking is something that you have the tendency to do, which I do, I think it's not a bad thing. As long as you can spot the differences, right? Again, discernment is everything. Being able to look at like what your mind is overanalyzing. And I said it at the top of the podcast, overanalysis tends to lead to paralysis. And it's a statement that I like because it's pretty true. If you overthink things to the point where you're like, am I making the right move? Am I going to make the right move? You may not end up making no move at all. And that move will cost you everything. That move of not making a non-move will cost you everything. It'll cost you the opportunity, that chance to slip by, and you may look at things with regret. But I think in hindsight, if you're of the state of thinking that I have, I believe that the universe always is abundant and rich with opportunity and chances. So just because you missed a bus one time doesn't mean there's not going to be another bus a few minutes away from there. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to kind of understand that. But at the same time, also have that sense of urgency to capture as many moments as you can in this life, because we just don't know how much time we got left. And we want to kind of squeeze every bit of this life out of it as we can. And yeah, so I think overthinking really, if you identify with it, it's not a bad thing. It really isn't. But you have to train yourself and cultivate the skill of discernment within yourself, so that when you're analyzing things, you can choose the right way for you, the best approach for you, the best answer for you, right? And the best way to do that for me, honestly, is to just find a place of quietness, get still real quick. I like to take out a pen and a pad, write stuff down. I like to get into nature, let the answers kind of come to me, and just kind of let things happen the way that I let the answers formulate, so that I don't really even have to do anything. Just give myself the space, the time, and just put myself in the environment to where the answers will come to me a lot more free-flowingly. And I think overthinking can be bad in situations where you just got to move. You just got to go. For instance, I'll give you an example. One of my biggest fears for so long has been the fear of heights. And all the times I've traveled to Hawaii, Oahu specifically, there's a rock in the North Shore of Oahu that a lot of people jump off of. It's in Waimea Beach, beautiful place, you might know it. And the rock is really high. Doesn't look so high when you're on the sand, but if you actually get on top of that rock and look how far the plunge is from the top of the rock, it's pretty freaking high. It's pretty freaking high. And for a person that doesn't really rock with heights like that, I avoided it like the plague for so long. But in the more recent years of my life, I've been really wrestling with this idea of fear, my old idea and old programming of fear into my system, and just retraining my mind to understand that fear can actually be your friend if you trust yourself enough to discern whether something's a legitimate threat or if it's just your mind making shit up to stop you in your tracks. Again, overanalysis leads to paralysis, right? So going back to my example, since I've been in this phase, not even phase, in this place in my life where I'm taking fear and I'm changing the whole programming that I have in my mind about it, I just decided, you know what, man, I'm going to go up and climb that rock and I'm going to jump off it. I don't care if I'm scared of heights. I got to do it. And I'm telling myself all these stories. Oh, there's little kids jumping off this, blah, blah, blah. Like, just old people jumping off this, blah, blah, blah. Like, and I'm trying to gas myself up, right? But I also came to a point where when I make a decision to do something, I'm gonna do it. If I say I'm gonna jump off that rock, I'm gonna jump off that rock, even if I'm scared shitless. And I'll tell you my story. I climbed up that rock. Again, looking at the rock from the sand, it doesn't look too high. But when you climb up that rock, that plunge down looks hella high. I'm like, whoa. And if I were to overthink in that moment, I could hold myself back, or I could jump off the rock and kind of halfway jump off the rock and hurt myself. So in that moment, when I got up to the top, yeah, I noticed how high it was. It was compared to how it was down there. It was much different. So if I would have overthought it, I probably would have screwed myself up royally. or I would have just stood up there and just shit my pants. But I said, you know what? I'm up here. I made the decision to get up here, and I'm jumping off this rock. And I did it. And it was fun. It was a great experience. I look back at it. I'm proud of myself for stepping up to the plate and not letting fear win that day. And the reason why I brought up that example is because if you overthink in that moment, like I mentioned, a lot of different scenarios can happen. Once possibility for fun, where you're jumping off a rock and you can have a great experience and something to have with you to be able to look back on for the rest of your life, could easily have turned into something catastrophic where you hurt yourself, or you just instilled some sort of new paralyzing fear within yourself, that's going to be even harder to overcome as you move forward in your life. If I were to overthink there, it wouldn't have ended well. So I said, F it, I'm jumping off. And I ended up having a great time. I got out, I fell into the water, popped back up, and I felt the rush. It was fun. I didn't do it again, I'll tell you that much, but I will tell you, I conquered my fear for that day. And there's several other instances where I've met my fear, and I decided that I was going to conquer that fear and face it head on. And in those moments too, overthinking can have you backtrack. It can paralyze you, it can stunt you. And for me, I got no time in my life for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm really trying to, again, squeeze the most out of life. And if you are somebody that's trying to squeeze the most out of life as well, I think this episode can help you in many ways, because it's not only overthinking we're talking about, but it's discernment. Being able to choose, being able to pick which one's true, which one's false, which one's right, which one's wrong. Because your mind is going to lay it all out there for you. But it's up to you to determine what's right or wrong. And that's what discernment is. And you can cultivate that in many different ways. I think that if you cultivate self-awareness, discernment comes easy. I think that when you are self-aware, you're able to then look at everything from a point of where things slow down for you so much more. And when things slow down for you, it's easier for you to kind of look at things. You develop different methods. The more you cultivate that within yourself, you get better and more natural at just making the better choices that fit you, that suit the whatever goal you're trying to accomplish. So that's what I got for y'all today. Topic of discussion was discernment and overthinking. Overthinking is your superpower, y'all. If you lean into it the right way, you can get the very best answers for yourself. And I hope that this episode gave you a lot, and I hope that it helped in any type of way. And as always, thank you for the support. If you like this episode, please share it with your friends, like, comment, and subscribe. And until the next episode, y'all, peace and love.